Do you work from home and you feel like you shouldn't be as stressed out as you are, but you're extremely stressed out and you happen to work in the insurance industry or an equally stressful type job? If so, let's talk about it.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag.
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keila Trishan and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life of the toddler, all of the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back and thank you for your support. Okay, so as I kind of prefaced, if you work from home, I feel like the consensus with people that don't work from home, it seems to be like maybe you have it a little bit easier because you work from home because obviously you forego the commute, you don't have to get up and get ready, all that good stuff. But in my experience, working from home can sometimes be a little more stressful than going into the office, mainly because your home is your office essentially. And sometimes there is a disconnect on when you should turn everything off and, like really unwind. Also, I just so happen to work in an extremely stressful industry and it's very demanding. And I've shared with you guys basically like the last couple of months that I have been struggling to keep up with like just different changes that I've gone through and just my workload. So instead of complaining over and over and over again, I've had to come up with different ways to combat that stress because as we know, stress can manifest itself physically and it can just really kind of like take over your life outside of work. So I have some tips. I've probably talked about some of these things before in different videos, but I wanted to kind of just focus on different ways that I have been like unwinding, different ways that I've been de-stressing while going through such a tough situation, working from home and working in insurance. Now, these tips are good if you work, again, at an equally stressful job, whether you're an entrepreneur, you work a 9-to-5, whatever that may be. If you are struggling with your mental health and just kind of figuring out how to unplug, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. All right, you guys, so my first tip is even if you work from home, I believe it is still important to still have a routine. Have a morning routine, have a work routine, have an evening routine. I think sometimes when people work from home, especially if you're new to working from home, you feel like you have like all of the time. And I've known people to just roll out of bed, start working, clock in, whatever. And here's the thing, that can actually work for some people, but I do feel like over time, and especially if you have a stressful type job, having structure is important because it at least gives you something that you can control and you can create me time out of this whole process. For me, like just simply waking up, rolling over, clocking in, or logging in does not work for me because I feel like I just don't have any time for myself. So what I like to do is get up about, like, even if I don't have any inspections to go to, I like to get up about an hour and a half before I actually have to log into work. That gives me time to, do my, morning hygiene, wash my face, brush my teeth, all that good stuff. I still like to put on an outfit, like even if I'm, not going anywhere, just like something like some loungewear. So even if I decided to leave, I still look presentable and I'm not just sitting around in my pajamas. I may not go and do like, full makeup or stuff like that, but then I at least look presentable and I feel presentable. I like to have my morning cup of coffee and just kind of sit there in the quiet time while nobody is asking for my attention. Also, y'all know I have a toddler, so before he wakes up, I like to just kind of have that me time, that quiet time before he needs to get ready to go to his daycare facility. So I think it is important to just like have an actual routine, even though you're cutting out that commute, like use that time that you would have been commuting to, really pour into yourself, whether that be having a cup of coffee, whether that be journaling, reading, whatever works for you. Make sure that you create some time for yourself and make it a habit to do every day so you can just kind of like clear your mind before you are being pulled in so many different directions. Because we all know when you work in these stressful type jobs, whatever hours you work, whether it be 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever, you're going to be asked to do a lot and, things come up. So just to kind of, I guess, prepare yourself and kind of have like some calm before the storm, it's important to just like have some me time, have some actual routines, things that you look forward to during your day. And even after you complete your work day, just so you can kind of keep some structure in your life. Okay, so my second tip that I feel is very helpful if you work from home in like a stressful type environment, and even if it's not super stressful, I do think that it's important to separate. I think it is very beneficial to have a separate workspace from your living space. So I kind of started this bad routine when I first started doing the field adjuster position at my previous company, where I would like work from my bed. And the issue with that is, even when it was time to clock out, I would sometimes associate like my bed with work. Like, it wasn't a safe space. It wasn't really restful being in the bed, because sometimes I would just wake up, do my morning routine, and then come work from my laptop in the bed. The last couple of jobs that I've had, I've made it a point to have a specific space in my apartment. Now, this is obviously easier if you have like a separate room that is an office. I think that would probably be the most ideal, because you could literally like leave that office and, you know, the rest of your house is like your actual home and your, you know, chill space, and then that office you associate with work. Now, I don't have the luxury of having, you know, just a separate room, but I do have separate areas. So if you've been watching me since my last company, when I first started doing these day in the life vlogs, I had a little section in my son's room at the time where I had my desktop set up, and that was where I would work. So it was just that section. So obviously it was his room, so I would have to go in there throughout the day, but like just that section was considered work. So I tried not to sit there when I wasn't working. Like when I was taking a break or lunch, I would actually get up away from there. I would go sit on the couch or even go to my room. Right now, the setup that I have is in the living room. So I have my desk set up with my, you know, double screen. Well, I have like my laptop, and then I have another screen where I can put, you know, other work, so I can just have a bigger space to work. And that particular space is my workspace. So even when I'm editing videos, I typically will sit there. Sometimes I'll edit videos on the couch, but I try to just make it to where all work related things, including like YouTube, Instagram type stuff, is done in this space. So that's where my mind goes. Whenever I look at that area, that is work. So I try to make a conscious effort. Again, like I do sometimes, depending on what's going on, I may snack at my desk, like if I'm not on an actual like lunch break. But when I'm actually eating my food, I try to take it away from the desk, go sit somewhere that I associate with chilling and relaxing, so I can just kind of like unwind, properly eat, and not feel extremely rushed. And then when I go to that desk, it's like business. So create a space in your home, even if it's small. Just make sure that, you know, it's aesthetically pleasing to your standards. Make sure that it's comfortable. Have yourself a comfortable chair, comfortable desk, you know, ergonomics and all that stuff. Make sure that it's a place that you associate with work, and a place where you can be productive. And when you're not doing actual work, get away from there. Okay, so my third tip is to consider working in like blocks of time, like project by project, or, you know, even if you set aside like 1 or 2 hours to go hard, and then take regular breaks. Like that will help you de-stress throughout the day, as opposed to like waiting to completely de-stress and unwind at the complete end of the day where you're already just completely done. What I typically do, because I work in insurance and I work on a lot of claims, usually I do it by project. So if I'm working on, let's say, a big supplement, or I'm writing a huge estimate, I'll set aside time to just kind of work through that estimate, where I'm not checking my personal phone, I'm not getting up, I'm not doing anything else, I'm just simply working on that. And then as soon as I'm done with that project, then that is my cue to take a break. So whether that be a social media break, like if I want to scroll through Instagram, or if I you know, need to go get something to eat, if I want to take a quick walk around the apartment or the complex, I can do that during those little breaks, and then I'm kind of like refreshed and I can come back to work. Now, in the industry that I work in, like I have my work phone and stuff, so sometimes it'll be ringing or whatever, and I'm very cognizant of like when I'm taking my break, when I'm actually on break, I do not answer my phone. So I leave all of those things in my workspace, and I address it when I'm actually working. So it's important to take those regular breaks, like even just like screen breaks. When you're staring at your computer for a long period of time, that can be like tough on your eyes and stuff. So have like your blocks where like you're getting your work done, because at the end of the day, that's why you're getting paid, right? So you want to make sure that you're being productive, getting what you need to get done, not having any management or higher ups on your back asking you what you got going on. But then you also need to take time for yourself. So again, try using that method, or really whatever works for you. If you do work a 9 to 5 where you actually have like lunches and breaks, like, you know, fit in, that can kind of be your blocks. So make sure that, like, you know, before your morning break, you have like a plan where you're working on emails and voicemails or whatever. And then after you come back from your morning break, make sure you leave all of your equipment at your desk. And, you know, when you come back from your break, work on another block, then take lunch, so forth and so on. So yeah, I think that is just very important, because at the end of the day, even if you work an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour day, you still need to take breaks. It's it's unlikely that you're going to be productive all of those 8 hours working straight through. Some people are, but also those people end up paying for it by being extremely stressed out. Hello, me. I've definitely done that before, where I've worked a full day and haven't really gotten up, or just very minimal. So make sure that you're taking regular breaks. They don't have to be long breaks, and they shouldn't, because obviously you're working, but you know, a 5-minute break, a 2-minute break here and there, whatever, just to kind of break up the day and give you some fresh air really helps and can really make a difference at the end of the day. Okay, so this next tip is pretty big, especially in the industry that I work in, because a lot of it is like reviewing different documents and trying to make a decision, and you know, getting back to people, letting them know when they're going to get paid. My fourth tip is to set realistic expectations for how much time it's going to take you to complete a project. So this is going to be whether you're working with customers, whether you're working with like your internal employees, things like that. I've done myself a disservice in the past by telling somebody that I would have something completed within a day, knowing that with the current things that I had going on, it would take me maybe 2 to 3 days to review said document or documents. And in those situations, I've put myself in just like a kind of a crunch time situation where I now don't have the time, or I'm having to work overtime, or just work extra hard to get this done by the time that I said, as opposed to just telling that person like, hey, I'm gonna need 2 days, or I'm gonna need 3 days. So I adjust my time frames depending on how much work is needed for a project and what I have going on. So for example, I just went to an inspection like last week. It was like at the end of the week, it was like Thursday, and it was a re-inspection, so I was just kind of looking at the damages after emergency services was completed, and now everything was gutted. So at this point, we need to put together a full estimate for repairs. So the couple, they asked me when I would have it ready. Now normally, for something like that, because it was only one room, I would likely have it ready by the next day. But because I had another inspection that day, and I already had deadlines that I told people I'd get like back to them by the end of the week, I told them I was going to need like 2 business days, which would mean like Monday. So end of business day Monday, I should have an answer for them on how much we're able to pay, all excuse me, all that good stuff. So things like that, you just want to be cognizant. Even if it's going to take you 3 to 4 days, you want to be very upfront about that. Like the bigger the project, or the bigger the document that I need to review, I let people know, okay, for this amount of work, I'm gonna need like a week to review this, because you know, I'm in the field and I have other things going on. I've already told other people I'm gonna have things done by a certain time, so you're just gonna have to wait. And when you do that, one, you set the expectation for the person, so you lessen like calls asking for updates, and then also you give yourself that breather so you're not super stressed. So even if you work on like a little piece by little piece, or if you set aside some time to work on it, you now have that leeway because you've given yourself enough time to complete this project in its entirety and not feel rushed. So definitely make sure that you are upfront about, you know, just kind of your workload and the time that you need to properly review things, so you don't cause yourself unnecessary stress, especially if you work from home. Because for some reason, people think that when you work from home, you're just always available, or you are always on the clock, and that's not true. You still have work hours. So just be cognizant and set the right expectations. All right, so my last tip, I'm gonna make it short and sweet and simple. When you are done with your workday, whatever time that is, even if you worked overtime, whatever, turn off all of your devices. Turn off your work phone, turn off your computer, put them shits away. The reason why I say this is because I had a bad habit of leaving my phone on. I would turn it down like to the lowest setting, but even on the lowest setting, you could still hear it if it rang, or like, you know, if notifications came through. Computer would be shut down, but my phone would still be on. Now, the issue with this is that I'm trying to unplug, and then I'm hearing this constant ringing. Like, you have some people that will just call a bunch of times for whatever reason. Either they're just like really trying to get in touch with you, so they think that by calling back to back to back to back, they're going to reach you, or maybe their phone disconnected, so they're calling you again to leave a message. Whatever it is, it still subconsciously has my mind on work. And so what I started doing very recently, I used to do it at my old job, but I wasn't doing it here because things didn't get super crazy until the system change I told you about. But what's been really helping me is making sure that when I log out of work, I'm shutting my phone down. As in, I have an iPhone, so I am pressing shut down, I'm sliding it off, and I'm putting it in the corner, and I don't think about it until I log back into work again. So what that does for me is, like, I know that it's possible I'm gonna get calls overnight or emails overnight or whatever. But if I'm not on the clock, if I'm not actually actively addressing any of these things, I don't need to be involved in it. I need to make sure that my head is clear so I can properly take care of myself and take care of my family and not have to think about like, oh, what's going on with work. For me, it's like that out of sight, out of mind. I don't need to be worried about it until I'm actually logged in. I'm salary, so I'm not getting paid additional to be, extra stressed out or anything like that. So I'll get to it when I get to it. Make sure that when you're logged in, you're calling people back and you are providing people with the information that they need. So then they're not calling you a bunch of times. But if you work in an industry like I do, like where you're customer facing and people are waiting for you to make decisions, it's inevitable that people are going to try to hit you up after work hours. So again, turn off all those devices. If you have an office, turn off everything and close that door of the office. Don't go back in there until it's time to work. Or if you have a situation like me where you kind of just have a section, I basically just, I make sure the section is clean by the end of the day. I turn off everything. I either put it inside of my work backpack or just put it to the side, but everything's off. So even if you're trying to get in touch with me, I won't know until the next morning at 8 a.m. All right, you guys, so that is all that I have for you today. I really, truly hope that these tips help. Again, they're practical and things that I've talked about in previous videos, but I did feel the need to revisit it because some of you guys will email me and DM me, and I know I'm not the only one that's going through like a tough and stressful time at work. But the biggest thing is like just to remember that you are working to fund your lifestyle. You're not working for the extra stress. You're not working because you just love it. I mean, some people may love it, but I know for me, I'm not working just because I just absolutely love insurance. You know what I'm saying? I'm working because it's an industry that I'm doing well in. I make decent money. I am able to take care of my family, and this is where we are. I refuse to let it take over my life, and you should refuse to let whatever you're doing take over your life, and just look at it for what it is. At the end of the day, sometimes it's hard to avoid work stress, but you need to have ways to cope and be able to like work so you can function properly outside of work, because life isn't all about work, okay? But yeah, if these tips helped you and if you learned something today, definitely go on ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you have not already subscribed and you made it this far, definitely go on ahead and click that subscribe button, please. And be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. With that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your bag, it's like I never knew you. Leader.